Okay, it's very quiet in here today. What's wrong? Tuesday?
Not looking forward to the snow.
True.
Not here.
Huh?
Steve's not in here.
Oh, that was
Steve's not here.
She's taking her test.
Thought I started
yeah, that's
taking
right.
Was it your birthday recently? Oh,
No, why?
because I had a dream that it was your birthday.
Oh, no.
And
You're off by a half a
all
year.
in my dream.
Oh my God. Okay, so today we're going to move on. We're done with HTML as pure code, but we are going to look at still building websites using other methods. And I just want to let you know that I think I graded out everybody in this in-person class, and you all did really well on the HTML midterm. Really, really well. So kudos. Way to rock it. It's probably pretty simple after having CSS and everything else, because it kind of was a step back, right? It was just the 2 pages of HTML. All right, so today we're going to look at how we can work with photos on our websites as far as getting them optimized for use on the website. And we're going to look at a bunch of free options, and then I'm going to show you Photoshop real briefly. Do you guys have that Photoshop InDesign class second year or this year? Have you had it? Not yet? Okay, so your second year of admins, you do desktop publishing, where you do half a semester of Photoshop, half a semester of InDesign. So this will just be I'll just show it to everybody and the marketing students as well. And then we're going to look at some website building software that you might run across on the job. Marketing students and admins both. We're going to look at Wix, and we're going to look at WordPress. And then we're going to look at one of many mass email software pieces. MailChimp is the one that we're going to look at today. So that's the plan of attack. First thing it says is view and explore free photo editing software options. So Microsoft Picture Manager used to be the option that was on all these PCs. And you guys have hit a little snag with that, I hear. That's not there anymore. Or you guys not hit that yet. Maybe it's a desktop publishing class that's hit that. So that software didn't launch with whatever new Windows version or Office version they put on here. It's an add-on, and they don't have it on yet. So right now on your computers, if you go down to the search option in the bottom corner, and you were to type in like picture, normally Microsoft Picture Manager would be an option that pops up. Now we just get Paint, and Paint is like so archaic. I'm just, like Mary was telling me, you can't even do JPEGs in this classroom, which is crazy, other than using Paint. So if you have an older version of Windows or Microsoft Office, you probably have Microsoft Picture Manager, and that would allow you to resize your photos in that. If you're on a Mac, it's called iPhoto, and that allows you to do the same thing. But in absence of a good example on here, I'm going to show you some free versions on the web. So that third learning activity point, even though there's not a number 1, is these 3 options that we're going to look at. So if you want to go to them, let's start with the webresizer.com. So webresizer.com is literally the URL that you can type in. And anytime you go to these free options, I want you guys to be careful that you don't get tricked by this big start button, which seems like that's where you should start. But you've been on sites like this where what you really end up doing is you're downloading whatever this is. This is like an ad right here. So if we look at this web resizer, we can see an example. So in this example, the image on the left is 59.86 kilobytes. That's small. That's good for the web as is. But using their web resizing tool, we can optimize it all the way down to 13 kilobytes, which is 78% smaller, and the image is sharper. It has more detail. So why would we want to resize our images? What's the point? What's the value of going from 59 KB down to 13 kilobytes? It's a couple of different things.
File size takes less time to load in.
There's the 2. Loads faster, and the file size itself that you're saving on your server is smaller. So if you're Amazon.com and you have 3 billion images, you probably are thrilled to go from 60 down to 13 because those add up and they take storage space. Typically when we take a picture with our digital camera, it's going to be anywhere from 10 megapixels up to 24, depending on what kind of a camera you're using right now. That's way, 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 way too big. 1 megapixel is too big, much less 10 or 24. So we always are going to resize. So if a client gives you a bunch of pictures straight from their digital camera, or your company does, you definitely have to resize them for use on the web so that you're not wasting space on the server and load time, which used to be a huge deal. If anybody was on the internet when it first was dial-up, and load times were very real back then. You know, dial in, it would ding and chime, and then the page would slowly load. So we have to be careful with that. So some things that we can do over here, we see we can reduce the size, we can crop the photo, sharpen it, resize it, rotate it, whatever. So if you click on the Resize Photos Here button, I'm just going to walk through all this, and if we hit glitches, the good part is we're experiencing them at the same time and we're learning. So here's an example. The original draft was 38. The one that they optimized came down to 14. So up here is where you would choose an image file. So if you click on that Choose File, I'm going to go to my Pictures folder, and usually there's a bunch of generic Microsoft pictures in here. Do you guys have pictures in your picture folder? No? Darn it.
Well,
See, everything's goofy. Okay, then either in your homework or Pacific folders that we've been working on for this class, we definitely had some images that we used there for like the yurts or something like that. I'm going to back out. I grabbed some pictures off of the internet that appeared to be fairly large in size, so I'm going to see if that's true. So just open any photo you have. It doesn't matter if we have the same photo or not. Choose that in the open image, and then from there, choose image, and then click upload the image. Okay, this is a good example. I was able to find this just on Google Images when I realized my image folder was empty. This is a big original photo. The original size is 2,560 kilobytes, so this is 2.5 megs. This is a big, big photo. Physically, it's 4,200 pixels wide by 2,300, almost 2,400 pixels deep. That's huge. The optimized version that they're working on here is down to 27 kilobytes. 98% smaller, and it automatically resized it to be 400 by 225, which is about that big on the web, literally, versus 4,000. So this picture, had I loaded it as is, would have filled my monitor probably 3 or 4 times. I would have had to scroll on my monitor to see this whole picture. It would have been huge. So you have a couple of options. In addition to just letting it do this and pick the size, we also can do some other things like crop it or put on a border. So almost everything we're doing today, I want you to just experiment with this software and play around with it, because this is not something I use every day by any means. So if you find anything like this online, you're going to be doing the same thing. You're going to be troubleshooting it. So let's click on crop image and see how it works. Getting the spinning thing. Taking a super long time. All right, while that's spinning, and if it's going to pop up, did you guys get some? Okay, so does it look like what you would expect it to look like? Like you can maybe pull the crop lines around and, okay. So also down at the bottom, we have the size. The new size, typically you pick one. You pick the width or the height that you want. So if you're working for your company's website and all of your pictures in your catalog are 300 pixels wide, so that they're all the same width, but the depth of them can change depending on the proportions of the picture, this is where you would change it. So let's say we wanted this to be a different number than it is. You all loaded your own pictures, so I don't know what you're looking at, but let's go down here and change the size. I'm going to change this one to 300 and hit tab. You see where you can rotate it, you see where you can sharpen it, and that makes the picture quality, the pixels look a little bit sharper. And there's also some tinting. So down here we could tint it with a brown color, we could make it monochrome, which is black and white. Here's where we can do the border previews, put a border around it, and then you'd click on this apply changes. So I'm going to click that, And now I do see that I have a 300 pixel photo. So it did that first step. If I wanted to do monochrome, if I clicked that button and said apply changes, it gives me a black and white version of my picture. If I want to put a border around it, the color is this first square, so you can click on that, and that's your color picker. And then you could pick different colors by rotating, or not rotating, but going up and down on the right-hand side on the color bar. You pull up and down to get into the family that you want, so the greens, the blues, the reds. And then in this big box, you actually pick the hue, the tint and saturation of that color that you want. So do you want it a little lighter with some white in it? Do you want it darker with some black in it? Wherever you click inside this big box is going to pick your color. So a border has to have some amount of size, pixels. 0 means no border, so if we said 5, and then we did a preview of that, we can see what a 5-pixel border would look like. I get the feeling I have a lot of spinning here, like things aren't working quite as successfully as I would hope. I'm going to do the apply changes again. And there's a 5-pixel pink border around my monochrome image. So when you get it where you want it, you then choose download this image, and that would save it to your hard drive or your jump drive, and you would have an optimized picture ready to use. So if you ever find images that you want to use on a website, you do have to make them web ready. They can't be high resolution, meaning 300 pixels per inch. They need to be the 72 dots or pixels per inch, and I'll show you that in Photoshop. Because on a computer monitor or your iPad screen or your phone screen, it's being lit up from behind, the pixels are. So it's all these little square pixels that are being lit up. And 72 pixels per square inch is what our resolution is on our monitors. High-res images that we see in magazines are 300 pixels or dots per inch, meaning there's a lot more pixels shoved in that square inch. They're a lot smaller. And on a computer monitor, it can't change that. It can't suddenly put 300 in a square inch because the 72 pixels per inch are what the monitor actually is. So for every 300 pixels, it has to make it, instead of 1 inch, it has to spread it out over about 3 inches or even more. So your pictures look really big when they're high res. They physically get bigger on your computer screen. So the things that we would do is we would take it down in resolution to 72 dots per inch, and then we would physically change the dimensions of it to be what we need for our website, whatever that might be. You guys have luck with that? Did you play around and get a picture?
Mine's not loading.
Changed? Yes? No? No?
It won't even load my picture.
Pardon?
It won't even load my picture.
Are you clicking the right upload now?
Did you click this when you're done?
Oh, maybe not.
I did the same thing and I was waiting for a good minute.
I've been waiting.
Yeah, choose file, and then you have to click upload now. And then you can play around with all the options.
It's okay, Brittany.
Like,
Yours last
It's Monday part 2.
It's just spinning. It's just spinning.
Mine
I know, mine
spinning
kept
too.
spinning too, so
Yeah.
I thought it was loading and I was like, oh, maybe I should click this.
All right, so that's one version. Let's look at another one. Resize.com. Again, don't be fooled by these green buttons. Start now. Down here, and you select your picture from either a URL on a website or from your computer. This is going to be very similar. So if we pick a picture from our computer, I got to stop this web resizer because it's just spinning and spinning. Then we click the browse button, and we grab a picture from our computer again.
Bless you.
And then we have to click continue, which is the same thing as upload, I guess.
I said bless you. Oh, okay, you're welcome.
And on this one, we have a few different options, but quite frankly, it's all very intuitive. You just look at the options on the left. So you can crop your selection,
Make sure
deselect it, or revert it to the original. So if I wanted to crop this one, make a selection by clicking and dragging on the preview picture. So maybe I want to crop out the dude on the right over there. And then click on crop selection. There's my cropped version. If you need to rotate it, if it's taken on a camera and it's the wrong way, you could work through these. Resizing your picture, you can tell it the percentages or a custom size, and when you click on the custom size, this is where you're allowed to specifically put in some details, like I want this to be 400 pixels wide by 400 pixels tall. This one also has special effects that some may work, some you may have to do a little bit higher membership for this. But if you wanted to try what some of these are, just click on one and see what it does. Evidently, we don't get a preview until we click the I'm done, resize my picture option down here, so I'll do that. And the width you entered cannot be greater than the original width. Try again. Okay, that's the problem with the custom size. You need to know what you're doing. I'll just leave mine at 50% smaller as the option and see what I get. Oh, now my oil painting didn't get chosen. Darn it. All right. So it doesn't show me the preview, but it allows me to view the image, resume editing, save it to a disk or my jump drive or hard drive, or save to the web. So that's another free online editing option. And the third one I wanted to share with you is PicMonkey, P-I-C Monkey. This also has some paid for options, the pricing in here and the learn, but you can always start a free trial. I'm going to click on edit a photo and see if it allows me. No, I'm going to have to sign up for this one, and I don't want to go through that. The other day I tried this, I got this CAPTCHA thing popped up, and I failed like 7 times in a row, which so did 2 other students, and we know we weren't really failing, it was just being really weird, so we gave up. But on PicMonkey, just from this front thing, you can see that it has photo editing. It also has templates for making different designs. So this could be a really fun free trial for you guys to try sometime. And if you like it, it might be an option for you. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to show you what professional designers use. And marketing students have certainly heard of this, as have admins. It's Adobe Photoshop. And to have this, in this room, I believe these first 2 rows of computers have Photoshop installed in them without needing a license. But everywhere else on campus, you need a license to use Photoshop. So my graphic design students have to purchase their own subscription to this. If you like it or are interested at all, we have, through the Wisconsin Technical College Consortium, we've purchased or made a deal with this company through Adobe to get the whole entire Adobe suite, Creative Suite, which is Photoshop, Illustrator, Dreamweaver, InDesign, Premiere, After Effects, the video editing, it's everything, at a student discount of $125 for 1 year, which is beyond insane because as a professional to, it's all subscription based right now, to get just Photoshop is $50 a month, and to get the whole suite is, gosh, what is it a month? $100 to $200 a month is the non-student version.
Yeah, wow.
The Adobe discount that was good used to be $325 for a year, student discount. So we got this thing through Emergent, and I'll share that in an announcement so you have it on Blackboard if you're at all interested. When you do it, it's good for 1 year. So you don't need it for the admin class, but if you end up wanting to experiment with it, I want you to know that it's out there. Also, are you guys familiar with lynda.com and know that you have a free subscription to that? Marketing for sure. You guys also? No? Okay. So lynda.com was this great training site with video training that LinkedIn bought a while ago. And this is what it looks like. And when you go to sign in, if you're already signed in to your LTC student email and you're logged in, it's going to recognize that. And sign in with your organizational portal is the option you'll want if it doesn't redirect you to that. And then you type in your organization's URL. I've never seen this before, or for a long time. I've probably seen it before, it's just been a long time. And that's going to get you into the lynda.com membership that you all have as part of being a student here. So because I was already logged into my email at LTC, it automatically verified that I'm an LTC student or faculty member, and it worked. So in lynda.com, under the library, here's all the different things that you can learn about, and it's pretty intense. Whoops, come on, just stay up there. You can learn 3D animation, audio, business, design, developer, education, marketing, photography, tons and tons of things. But if you wanted to learn Photoshop over the summer, just because you want to or you like Photoshop or whatever, if you do a search up here, you're going to get all these different results. And you can do the whole class, or you could find just one video on one topic in Photoshop. Maybe you forgot how to resize a picture in Photoshop. You could actually find this. And these video series are great. They're really detailed. Many of them come with exercise files so that you can download the work they're doing and work along with them. So between getting the software, if you're interested, it's available to any student. If you have a Go to LTC email, it works for you. So it doesn't matter what program you're in, you can get that deal. And then lynda.com is the great training resources for that. So back to Photoshop. I'll show you how we resize photos in Photoshop. This will just be a quick demonstration. You guys don't need to open this or can't open this. But we open a file, and then we find a picture to open. Okay, this photo on my screen, you can imagine this based on your screen, is probably 7, 8 inches wide by 4 or 5 tall. That's the physical size right now. However, it's a huge photo. I'm only viewing it, up here I can see the percentages, at 16%. And it does that so I can see the whole picture on my screen. If I were to come in here and, whoops, wake up, and say 100%, this is how big the picture really is. And notice, it physically doesn't fit on my screen. I have to keep scrolling left to right, up or down to see everything in here. It's a huge picture. So if I go into image size, it tells me what this actually is. And at low resolution, at 72 dots per inch, meaning spreading them out, this would actually be 60 inches wide by 33 inches tall. That's how big that picture is. So if I wanted to use this as a high-res photo in a magazine, the first thing I would do would be I would change the resolution down here to be 300, and I would uncheck this resample button, meaning that resample button gives Photoshop the permission to throw away or add pixels. Adding pixels is never good. The quality goes down. Throwing away pixels can be good because it just makes the file size smaller. So if I wanted to print this exact photo as a true photograph at 300 dots per inch, the size that it would allow me to print perfectly is 14 inches by 7 inches. I could go a little bit bigger, but not much without it starting to lose quality. But that's still way too big. If I wanted this on the web, 14 inches wide is way too big, and 300 dots per inch is way too much. 72 is what we have on the web. So in Photoshop, we would go back to that 72 dots per inch. I also want you to notice right up here, it says the file size is 29.2 megs. This is the original photo, and it's 4,000 pixels wide by 2,300 pixels. So if I let it be at 72 dots per inch, it's going to be that huge print. If I say, nope, I want 300 dots per inch, squish 300 in, it comes down to the 14 by 8 inch point. Now, if I tell it to go down to 72 dots per inch, notice it goes back to that same huge size. So that's fine, but now I'm saying, you know what? 60 inches wide is ridiculous. My web person told me that all of our images need to be 4 inches wide. So I type in 4 and hit tab. Notice that the height automatically changed. To keep the same proportions, it went down to 2.25 inches, right? The resolution, however, went way up again. It's getting confusing, isn't it? But all it's doing is taking these 4,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels, almost 30 megs worth of data, and it's reassigning it depending on what I say I want. If I want a 4-inch picture, it says, fine, you can have a tiny picture, but I'm going to put 1,000 pixels per inch now. Ridiculous, right? So somewhere there's this happy medium. So I'm just going to cancel this and come back to the original starting point. And the first thing I would do is I would change the width to be 4 inches by 2.25 because the 72-inch resolution was what the picture originally was, right? So it was 29 megs, now it's down to 136K. That's a lot smaller, right? And it's 4 inches wide, which is what we were told by our web developer or our boss that we needed to make the picture be, and it's 72 dots per inch. So now I can say okay to that, and Photoshop has permission, because this resample is checked, it has permission to throw out all those extra pixels. They're not needed. And that is the picture that you get at 100%. That's how big it would physically be, 4 inches on a monitor. So now it's much, much smaller. And there are other ways in Photoshop to further optimize it because 136 KB, as we saw with those other web versions, is still pretty big. Those were all down in the, what were they, 20s, like really smaller. So there's more ways in Photoshop to now optimize it. All we did was resize it, but we would actually optimize it and make it even smaller. And the goal here is the physical size stays the same. It's going to be 4 inches wide because that's what we need, but we're going to do things to the pixels to get rid of more of them to make the file size smaller without losing quality. So it's this game that we play where we look at it in one window as it is and in another window as we're optimizing it. And when we start to lose quality over here, we back off. So we get it down to the smallest file size we can without losing visual quality. So it's a kind of a game, really. Get it to look as good as it can, as small as it can. All right, any questions? You guys understand why we would resize photos for the web? Okay. All right.